What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Rest Podcast. So glad you are here. Episode 123, I think this is.
I think so.
That's pretty crazy. I don't know if you were here for last week's episode. If you have not yet listened to last week's episode, I urge you to do it, please. It is the dream conversation that I would have loved to have as a 14-year-old starting my first creative business, getting to speak to a brand founder. Denise Lee, a good friend, now a new friend of ours, has built this amazing, pushing 8 figures this year, like a big company, a women's athleisure brand. And it's so cool. And we get to ask her so many questions. So quick plug for last week's episode if you have not yet heard it. But this week's episode is going to be a great one because it's all about how to turn a cheap or a free client into a paid client or into a higher paying client. Now, this is really relevant. Like, you probably didn't know I was going to talk about this, but this is actually legit. I had a conversation today. Someone hit me up in the DMs today and said, hey, can you talk to me about how to go from this price to way higher? They were selling a campaign for about $350, and they know it could be probably adding at least a zero onto that, like at least $3,500 for this campaign. Killing it, doing a great job for a big company. And they were like, how do I go from this cheaper price to this higher price? And then tonight, we were literally just at a park hanging out with people, playing Frisbee, volleyball, hanging out with a bunch of people. And I met a guy, I'd never met him before. And we started talking about a couple different things. And one of the things we talked about was, oh man, how do you go to pitch yourself when you're, trying to build a portfolio, you're doing a bunch of free work, and then you also want to start getting paid higher? It is such a common question. That's twice in one day. This question is so common. So we are doing this week's podcast on that. I'm so glad you're here for that. That was a long intro to get to the controlling idea, but that is what we were talking about today. So just because you did the work for really cheap or for free in the past does not mean you cannot turn that client into a high-paying client.
Heck yeah.
You just need a system and a framework and confidence in order to actually do that. And I'm telling you that from someone who's done it. I've done it so many times where I did free work or I did really cheap work, and I eventually learned how to then turn that into high-paying clients, which is cool. So the question is, Joey, how the heck do you do that? That's what you're probably asking right now. How the heck do we do that? How do we do that, right? How do you turn a free or a cheap client into a high-paying client, a well-paying client? Well, let's start with how we get there. Let's start with the problem. The problem is that myself included, you included, everyone listening to the show, we always get ourselves into this position where we have cheap clients or we have clients who we did stuff for free that we'd love to get paid more for, or they've come back wanting more work and they're expecting it to be free again, or they're expecting it to be cheap. We got ourselves there because we were focused on building our portfolio, enhancing the amount of work we've shot, getting social proof for what we can show we can create. And
that's
now
not a bad thing,
we're
right?
like, oh, shoot, but then how do I now make money because I'm known as the cheap guy in town? Or I'm known as the, hey, Joey will do it for free guy in town. So how do you break out of that? That's the question we're talking about today. Very, very important. But it's not a bad thing. Starting that way is not a bad thing.
Absolutely
I started that way.
not.
You started that way.
That's how most great businesses start. They do something for either cheap or free to build that portfolio, build that network, and all of a sudden then you start getting referrals. But then sometimes it can bite you in the butt because you're getting referred to because you're so cheap, right? And you want to break out of that. And honestly, and it's so sad to watch, a lot of creatives do not break out of that. They sit in that insecurity of I'm being known for being cheap. They sit in it. They never push past that barrier. And then they end up having these tense relationships with their clients. They kind of get bitter towards their clients because they feel like they're not getting paid enough. And we hope that this episode really helps you break out of that because it is possible to break out of that. And we got 3 different tips we can give you that will help you break out of that low-paying, cheap client work and push it into high-paying client work that you're actually so excited about.
Yeah, so these are 3 easy tips to go from free or cheap to high-paying. Now, they're easy tips, but it doesn't mean that it's not scary to implement them. It doesn't mean that it's not nerve-wracking to go from, hey, I was the free guy and now I'm not the free guy anymore. So take notes if you're listening to the show anywhere. Take notes, maybe other than driving a car. Honestly, these 3 things are really going to help you go from cheap or free to a well-paying client.
Yeah.
And they are going to help you do that because I've done it a bunch. Christy's done it a bunch as well.
Okay, number 1 is that you need to align your view of self to your new pricing. Okay, this might sound like, okay, okay, check, go to the next tip, whatever, give me something actionable. But this is so real, you guys. If you identify as a cheap creative, if you look at your work and go, yeah, it's cheap, whatever it is, you've got to move out of that first before you start pitching higher numbers. Because here's the thing, if you view yourself as the cheap option, good luck convincing somebody to pay you more money. But if you
100%.
view yourself as someone who's valuable, that what you do is a service that is going to help somebody reach their goals, help them make money if they're in their commercial space. If it's in the wedding space, you're going to give them the dream thing and it's going to be of so much value to them. If you walk into it with that mindset, then bam, that confidence will help you sell higher right off the bat. So even if you just changed your mindset around what you're selling and the value that it is and identifying as somebody who is not a cheap creative, but someone who is high value, that will do wonders for you. So that's
100%.
tip number one.
How you treat yourself is how other people will treat you. So you get to set the bar for how you want to be treated, right? So even communally,
Totally.
are you hanging around a bunch of broke creatives that all talk about,
Yes.
oh, I'm struggling, it's so hard to make money, all this stuff. Like that's so common, right?
Yeah.
If you were in
Ditch
those
that.
friend circles, love those people. That's why Creative Rise exists, is if you're that person, we love you. That's literally why Creative Rise exists, why this podcast exists, why we're recording this at 10:06 p.m. in the evening, because we love you guys. We want you to break that.
Yeah.
But if you're only surrounded by people that think that it's always doomsday, you're never going to make money, don't be surprised about it. You got to re-identify. You got to change the way you think about yourself. So brilliant. So good. Number two, that was number one. Number two, how to go from a free or a cheap client is to reframe your offer. This is so important. Bulk it up a little bit. If you're trying to sell the same thing you used to do for free for somebody, now to that same client and charge for it, it's a little bit tough. If you're selling the same thing that somebody else in town is willing to do for free and you're both comparable, it's going to be tough to sell it for a price, right? So you've got to bulk up your offer. Now, what's an offer? An offer is simply the value you're giving somebody in exchange for the value you're giving them. X amount of photos for X amount of money. X amount of videos for X amount of money, right? That is an offer. It's really simple. So if you want to go from the free person in town or the cheap creative in town to a higher paid and more expensive creative, you got to bulk up your offer. Bulk up the value you're able to deliver to somebody. And because you're bulking up the value, you're able to bulk up the price. Now, there's three different ways to quickly audit what your offer is and go, how do I bulk this up? There's three ways to bulk it up, okay? Number one, you start solving a bigger problem. If you want to bulk up your offer, solve a bigger problem. Bigger problems come with bigger paychecks. Go find a bigger problem and start solving it. Second way to bulk up your offer is by solving the problem faster. People pay for efficiency. People pay for speed. Very bluntly and honestly, we were on an anniversary trip a couple days ago and we paid 4 times probably what the ferry cost, an hour and a half ferry to go to an island and back both way. We probably paid 4 times that to take a helicopter both ways, simply because we were like, one, we value our time for this anniversary trip. We want to be there for longer. Why don't we do that? It'll be fun. And then on the way back, we realized we were going to get stuck in traffic if we had to take the ferry because it was going to take longer. We were like, well, we need to pay for speed here. We took the helicopter again. Very bluntly, very honestly, people pay for speed. That's an easy example from our life last week. This is so transferable in our own businesses. So bulking up your offer, solve the problem faster. How do you deliver quicker? How do you turn things around quicker, right? Solving a problem, filling a hole faster often gets you paid more money to do so. And a lot more people want to work with you. That's the second thing, okay? So solving a bigger problem, solving the problem faster. And the third thing is implementing a proven system or a proven plan in order to have the client trust you. That bulks up your offer like crazy. Now, here's what I mean by that. So many creatives, when they start doing free work or really cheap work, are like, yeah, send me the product. I'll just shoot it and send you back some photos. And the brand's like, okay, it's free. Might as well do it. And then when you start getting asked to pay, you start asking to get paid for something, you can't just be kind of like floating around like, yeah, I'll shoot it when I can and I'll give you stuff. No, like if you want to get paid, you should be going, okay, I am going to hop on a discovery call with you. I'm going to really make sure I know what you want so I can check every box and make sure we execute a home run for you. Then I'm going to find models. I'm going to find locations. I'm going to send them to you as the brand manager. You're going to check them off to make sure it's going to fit the campaign. Then I'm going to shoot the content. I'm going to give you this type of delivery. We're going to turn around in 2 weeks. Like, if you create a proven plan for them that you sell them on, hey, here's how you can trust I'm going to get this outcome for you. Step 1 all the way through step 5, whatever it's going to be. That bulks up your offer a ton. It could be the exact same creative you're giving from a free person to someone who's like $2,000 for the campaign, but they have a plan. Most brands will probably go with the plan because they know they can depend on it. So those are the 3 ways to bulk your offer up quickly. So again, number 2 was reframe your offer, bulk it up. And there's 3 ways to do that. Number 1, solve a bigger problem, solve the problem faster is number 2. Number 3 is implement a proven plan that they can trust. They can actually trust that you're going to get it done. That is so important.
Yeah, and when you think of bulk, don't go, oh, I just need to add 50 more photos, or I just need to
that's
add
not it.
quantity. A lot of times you can actually shrink your package and charge more if and only if you can communicate the value of what it's going to do for their results, right? You have to always quantify, like, what is my creative going to do? What is my content going to do? Whatever I'm delivering, what is the outcome that is going to be, and how can I quantify for that for them? So think about that. It's not just quantity, it's like quality and how you communicate. Again, you are a problem solver, not just a creative.
So good.
So look at them and go, hey, what do they need and how can I fill that need, rather than thinking, well, what do I want to do and how do I fit that into what they do as a business? So try to reverse that for yourself. And then last and definitely not least, number 3, and it's so simple. This kind of sounds like kindergarten advice.
So good though.
But have the conversation face to face, whether it has to be virtual or if you can get them in person. Do the conversation face to face. Don't try to throw it in text. Don't try to throw it in an email. Don't try to sneak it in there with an invoice. Have this face to face, because you guys, having this conversation, being able to explain the value you're giving, being able to explain the time, to give the time to be able to explain the plan that you're going to walk them through, they're going to be so impressed that you care that much to give that amount of time to them that they will want to reciprocate that back. If it's just thrown in a text or an email, it's super easy just to brush off and go, it's
Blow
too
you off,
expensive, blow off, whatever. That's not what you want to do. You want to have face-to-face conversation.
Yeah, and the way you do that, like the script for that is, hey, so excited to talk about working on another project with you, or the next project. So glad you loved the last thing I did. Would love to jump on a Zoom call, or would love to meet up for coffee. Let's do 25 minutes next Friday. I would love to run you through a couple new ideas I have. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm about to pitch you on like paying me. Just say, hey, I got a couple new ideas. Come with ideas. You always want to come with ideas. So that's how you get them on the phone. That's how you get them to come out for coffee, right? And then you just simply say, hey, great, loved working with you. Here's the problem I solved. Here's how I can solve it even better. And here's the price on it. Are we doing it or are we not? Very simply, right? So very, very important. You guys, you can do this. You can take a free or a cheap client to a high-paying client. I've done it. You've done it. We've helped so many people that have gone through the 6-week Creative Rise Mastermind do it time and time again. Last but not least, do not waste your time. This is a very important thing.
Yes.
A very important truth about this topic is, if you have a free client that you did work for them for free or for cheap and they just do not want to budge, move on. Do not cost yourself more money by trying to beat a dead horse that's never going to pay you, okay? So last but not least, move on if they just truly are not going to be someone that's ever going to want to pay you. There are truly brands out there that only work with creatives for free, and that's what they do, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But that's not who you want to work with. So just move on.
Yeah. And move on again, you guys, from the group of struggle bus people. Again, you don't have to move on from the people, but remove yourself from those types of conversations, because we cannot tell you how many creatives have walked through Creative Rise with us in some of our programs, people we've talked to, where they're like, this is so refreshing. It's so refreshing to watch people going for it, making money, encouraging each other that what they do is valuable, and not just like poo-pooing on everybody's ideas and kind of going like, oh, well, that's too expensive, or I could never sell that, or even any of that like sarcastic stuff. Get out of those circles. That is my biggest advice for you if you're listening to this podcast going, I feel like I'm stuck in cheap work and I don't know how to get out, is surround yourself with people who believe in what you do and can give value to you so you can grow. So that's one of the big things we do. We just want people to succeed at doing what they love, and we know it's possible because we've seen over and over again, it worked for creatives to be able to move from free or cheap to a thriving career that they 100%. Absolutely love. And so the best way, honestly, that we do that, we announced the dates last week at the podcast, in the podcast episode with Denise, our new mastermind dates. So we're running our 10th round of the
10,
Creative Rise Mastermind. It's our 6-week signature program that basically gives creatives the foundation, the content, and the community to build a 6-figure plus business. It's our favorite thing we do. It's awesome. And we're running our next one, and it starts September 10th. This September starts September 10th. It goes for 6 weeks, so it ends on October 22nd. It's an incredibly impactful 6 weeks. Applications go live August 28th. So end of August, applications go live. However, if you get on the wait list, you get early access, early pricing, some bonus stuff. It's super cool. Yeah. And those applications open August 23rd. So if you want to get on that wait list, you got to do it. We already have over 150 people on the wait list, so you definitely want to jump in. We only give around 30-ish spots for the mastermind. So if you want in, if you're in thinking about it,
Get
hop
the
on that
waitlist.
no
Totally.
commitment wait list. There's no commitment at all. You can find that in the link in our bio.
Yeah, so creativerise.com, you'll find all the information on the Mastermind. You'll get to see a ton of testimonials of people talking about what it helped them build in their own business. We've had 249 people go through this, which is pretty crazy. So we're pushing towards 300 people that are going to be graduating from the Creative Rise Mastermind. If you're wondering, what do you guys teach? What is the content on? What are we communally getting together and talking about on all of the group Zoom calls? Well, I'll run you through it. Week 1 is all about money, managing your money properly, and creating your brand. How do you redesign, rebrand your brand so it's really good? It's impactful. That's week 1. Week 2 is all about problem solving and creating offers. If you get that week wrong, or if you get that wrong in your business, you're donezo. So we really make sure we cover that early on. So important. Week 3 is all about taking those offers to the market. So how do you actually connect and network with people? Your net worth is your network is your net worth. That's what we call that week. So it's all our like networking strategies to really get known in industries, connect with vendors, connect with brands. Week 4 is all about marketing. I honestly believe we teach you more about marketing than a 4-year marketing business degree at any university, basically in the US. Like literally, so many people go through that and go, why did I not learn any of this in marketing school? And it makes me so happy every time people say that because it's so good. So week 4 is all about marketing, teaching you how to market your business, how to get new leads, how to nurture them, grow your business. Week 5 is all about sales and starting to scale that. Week 6 all about doing that in a healthy way because we could teach you everything in the world, but if you cannot stick away or stay away from burnout, it's not worth it. So week 6 is all about all that.
Yeah.
That's what the Mastermind's like from a very high level. There's a ton more stuff involved there. Weekly coaching, coaching calls that everybody like. It's a phenomenal experience.
It's
so
super cool.
Super fun. So if you're looking to make
hop on that.
2023 your year and go, hey, this year or next year, I really want to be making 6 figures and making it like consistently, and it feels like it's got a good foundation. The 6-week Mastermind is where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And if you're also kind of went through this podcast and you're like, you know what, I'm so ready to start making more money. How do I price my work? That is a great question. We've got a free resource for you. It's called the Creative Rise Pricing Calculator.
Yeah.
You can also find that in the description of this podcast. Totally free. It's like our gift to you. Use that. You can literally find either weddings or commercial pricing. It's super cool.
Yeah, there's a couple thousand people that use that every month,
Yeah.
which is really cool. We love it. Love to see how easy it makes pricing your next project. So anyways, guys, thanks for being with us. It is 10:17 in the evening here. It's getting time for bed. Bedtime. So we're going to bed. I don't know what you're doing, but I hope you're having a great day. Or if you're going to bed too, I hope you have a great sleep. So we'll
night,
catch you guys
everybody.
on next week's episode, guys. Thanks for being here. Cheering you guys on big time. See you next week.